deals with tax collection disputes that you might have with the IRS. And my colleague, Peter Lensai, is here to tell you more about that. And we also do bankruptcies for folks. So a lot of what we do with, most of what we do in what we call the finance team is defend people who are being sued for debt collection. That's a lot of that is credit card debt, medical bills, student loans. You may have issues with identity theft. You may have an old auto repossession case or something like that. Other areas that we handle are elder financial abuse. There's a lot of scams going on out there, and we want to be of a resource to our seniors who are being scammed by folks. And we also deal with, we have a lot of litigation surrounding PACE, which is property assessed clean energy. It's a system that was created in California to allow people to finance renovations on their homes that have an environmental aspect to them. So installation of solar, getting new windows, insulation in the house, and so forth. And unfortunately, that system creates tax liens on people's properties, but the way that it is sold to people, they don't realize that they're agreeing to tax liens. And often the liens that they are incurring are just tremendous and much larger than what folks can actually afford. So there's a lot of elder abuse that goes on in the sale of these things, and also a lot of fraud that goes on with regard to monolingual Spanish speakers. So if you found yourself in one of those PACE kind of loans, it's also referred to as HERO, and there are companies like PACE Funding and Vivint sell that product. And if you're in those situations, you want to give us a call. But also if you if you're being sued by creditors, you want to give us a call. We can help you respond to those things and possibly get those cases dismissed or settled, or even pursue affirmative rights that you might have for debt collection violations. And if you have a lot of debt, we may be able to help you filing a bankruptcy. And as I said, we have the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic, and my colleague, Peter Lensai, can tell you a little bit more about that. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Peter.
All right, thank you, Greg. So I do have some slides I can share, but I need to get access, or whoever's sharing the current slides. Okay, thank you. All right, so my name is Peter Lensai, and I am with the tax department here at Inland County's Legal Services. And we're called a Low Income Taxpayer Clinic, as the designation by the IRS and by the Tax Advocate Service. So just a brief overview of what a Low Income Taxpayer Clinic is. We are a low income grant funded service, and we assist low income individuals who have tax disputes with the IRS. So we can represent you before the IRS in court on audits, appeals, tax collection matters, and other tax disputes depending on your specific matter and the availability of our clinic resources. And we assist individual taxpayers and those that are self-employed. So we do not assist with corporations or businesses. All right, so the eligibility for our services. Generally, taxpayers whose income do not exceed 250% of the federal poverty guidelines, and the amount in dispute with the IRS is usually less than $50,000, may qualify for our assistance. Now, if there are special circumstances with an applicant for our services that we can consider, then we can go beyond those guidelines. And we can always provide consultation services to taxpayers, and there wouldn't be any income cap for consultations with our office. Although low-income taxpayer clinics are partially funded from the IRS, the LITCs and their employees and their volunteers are completely independent of the IRS, so we have no affiliation with them. All right, so these are the common controversies that we assist with here at our clinic and with most LITCs around the nation. And you can find LITCs in almost all 50 states, and they are in most major cities. So if you know someone that lives in another state, they can search up a LITC or low income taxpayer clinic and find one in their area. And so the common types of assistance that we provide here are earned income credit, audits, appeals, identity theft, litigation, innocent spouse, tax debt settlement, collections, and audit reconsideration. And I'm just going to go very, very briefly over each of these items because I know we don't have a lot of time here. All right, so the earned income credit or the child tax credit or the head to household is a credit that that many low-income taxpayers get due to their income level. And so if you don't owe anything, you're not required to file a tax return, but if you make a minimum amount of money, you can file a return and claim the credit. Now, because these are refundable credits, taxpayers can get a certain amount for these credits, and as such, these issues get audited quite often. And so you have to prove certain things to be eligible for these credits, such as your relationship to the children you're claiming, residency, and support. And so, so we help with proving to the IRS each of these elements. We work with the taxpayers to get the correct information to the IRS so that they can rightfully claim the credits. And these were the 2019 guidelines for for how much you can get to claim the earned income credit. So audits, IRS audit, I'm sure everyone's heard of audits before. That's when the IRS examines your accounts, and if you get audited, people think it's scary, but you can come to us and we can help get you prepared, get your audit response prepared, and hopefully get that out of the way for you. The appeal system. So if you disagree on a matter that the IRS has made an assessment or something, you can appeal it through their appeal system. We're very familiar with the appeal system and we can help with that as well. Identity theft is another big issue. We are limited with what we can do for identity theft because you need to show that who you are in order to proceed with IRS, but we can walk you through that process. Tax court litigation. So taxpayers have the opportunity to have their case or issue heard in tax court, which is a more neutral forum. And our office helps with tax court representation. Our staff are attorneys and we're licensed to practice before the tax court. And we help with either jumping in if you've already filed a tax court petition or file a petition if we think you have a meritorious case. Innocent spouse relief. So if you believe that you shouldn't be liable for an assessment based on what your spouse did and you didn't do anything wrong, that's called innocent spouse relief. And if you think you're eligible, you can come to us. We can assess to see if you are in fact eligible and help you with the innocent spouse relief application and process. And if you owe a tax debt and you can't pay it for any reason, or if you can only make payments, or you want to figure out what your options are, these options include offers and compromise, getting into currently not collectible status, and installment agreements. You can come to us. We can discuss with you what these options, which of these options might be best for you. And an audit reconsideration. That's when you may have new information for the IRS where you want them to consider to remove an assessment or otherwise. We can prepare an audit reconsideration package for you and submit it to the IRS for them to reconsider the new information. All right, and these are some of the reasons for an audit reconsideration. If you didn't appear for an audit, if you moved and didn't receive the correspondences, if you disagree with an audit assessment from the audit from the original return, if a substitute return was filed for you, or if you were denied credits during a prior examination, which you have information for now. All right, and these are the criteria. You must have filed a return. It needs to be unpaid, and you need to identify the adjustments, and you need to provide new information, which is very important. The information that wasn't previously provided, and there was an IRS computational processing error in the original assessment. All right, and here's our information again. I'm sure you'll get it later on. And that's a brief introduction to the Low-Income Taxpayer Clinic. All right. So I don't know who goes after me.
Looks like we have family law up next.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Jordan Gustafson. I'm an attorney here with the Family Law Department. And our primary goal is to assist clients with their goals of obtaining emotional, physical, and financial security for themselves and their families. And we do this by handling a variety of different cases. The first one is domestic violence restraining orders. We can assist with obtaining and responding to those requests. We additionally assist with paternity actions, and those are primarily between unmarried parents to obtain child custody, visitation, and support. And we can assist with either the initial filing, the response, or requesting modification of orders in current cases. We also assist with dissolutions, i.e. divorces, which typically entail child custody, child support, visitation, but also spousal support and division of assets and debts as well. Depending on the case, we may offer legal education, counsel and advice, representation at hearings, help with negotiations to help divide those assets and debts, excuse me. So yeah, that's a brief overview of what we do. Ours was much quicker, but if any of those seem to fit, feel free to reach out and we'll see if we can assist with those issues.
Thanks so much. So my name is Grant Joner. I'm the practice group director of the healthcare law team. We're pretty unique in that we help with a variety of healthcare issues, including eligibility and access to services, because it's not so much that you have insurance, you have a Medi-Cal card, but what does that actually mean to you in terms of how to find out how to get to your doctor? What does it mean when your health plan says you shouldn't get this service because it's not medically necessary? Or maybe you show up to the pharmacy and your pharmacist says this isn't covered, or in fact, it's going to be $500. So these are some of the kind of common issues that we can assist with. My program does not have any income or asset caps. We only require that it be related to healthcare and that it's related to one of the topics, including Medi-Cal, which is a state's low-income insurance, also called Medicaid in other states, Medicare, which is the federal insurance, and CalMedi Connect is a really unique program in California and our counties where they combine Medi-Cal and Medicare into one plan to try and make it easier. And then as well, Covered California, that's the marketplace plan through the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare. So people might have issues trying to find the right assistance, financial assistance to make their plan more affordable, or just a disconnect with trying to apply. Additionally, we can help with employer plans and any other insurance like vision and dental services as well. So Greg's team and my team collaborate sometimes on medical billing. My team handles medical debt, which would be pre-litigation before someone's actually been sued. Maybe they're in collections, maybe they just have a bill from their doctor that they disagree with, or maybe they have Medi-Cal and they shouldn't be paying for these services. So our team tries to collaborate with either the health plan or the individual providers to see if we can resolve this discrepancy and get the debt resolved. Now, if it's in litigation, they've already been sued, my team will pass it off to Greg and we kind of collaborate because we share a lot of the same issues. As well, in-home supportive services. So maybe somebody is in need of some extra help to safely stay in their home. They have, maybe they can't cook for themselves. Maybe they can't bathe themselves. These are some of the issues where it's better for somebody to stay in their home rather than actually be in a nursing care. So it's nursing level care, but it's safer and better for them to be in the home. So that's IHSS. So we can help them apply or even contest maybe the hours that they're granted. And then pretty much any other healthcare related topic like dental issues and access to care. Now, I keep talking about access to care and eligibility. There are some things that we don't help with, and that includes malpractice, personal injury, and then FMLA related kind of employment issues. So our team is really focused and dynamic. We try and help our clients as quickly as possible because delays and access to care can be really detrimental. So we have a hotline. I have my staff handling the hotline Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. People call in and try and get immediate assistance and connected with either a paralegal or attorney as fast as possible. And then we have a variety of services between giving advice. Maybe you should go apply for Medi-Cal based on your income, and I think you should qualify. Or maybe we start doing calls and conference calls with that client, because sometimes navigating the phone system and knowing the right words to ask is half of the battle with the healthcare system. And that's really where our expertise comes in, is just knowing the red tape and how to kind of cut through all of that. Then additionally, extended services. So maybe we want to represent you for your hearing. Maybe you have an administrative hearing coming up, and that's where we would take you on for an extended service and really try and do more for you and get the best result. So we do a lot of educational presentation as well, just like this, and other collaborations with other health plans. And our team is pretty unique in that we collaborate with other legal services throughout the state to identify complex and sometimes systemic issues, and try and collaborate with other legal services throughout the state that also do healthcare to achieve better results for all of the residents of California. So we are ready for the next crew. Thanks so much.
Before moving on, there was a question about what is the hotline information?
Oh, absolutely. So ICLS has a centralized phone line system, and I can give you that number, and I'm sure it's also in the web link that was added, inlandlegal.org. So we have a centralized intake system, and it's 888-245-4257. Callers call in. There's an option to be either routed to staff that speak English or Spanish or both as well. Thank you for putting it in the chat. Great. Callers come in, they're prompted with a phone tree for 1 for housing, 2 for healthcare, and then it kind of goes through the different tiering to figure out which team you would reach. And we also have an intake team that fields the general calls other than housing and healthcare. So housing, which is Maria's team, she'll be happy to talk about that, is that first option. Healthcare is the second one, and then we have an intake team, and I'll be presenting on that later in the discussion. I hope that answers all of the questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Maria Casares. I'm the practice group director for the housing department. So in the housing department, we do many different projects. Is the easiest way to explain all the services that we offer. So we definitely do education and counsel and advice. The best way to get in the doorway housing is through the hotline, same number as it was provided. So it is the 888-245-4257. As indicated, housing has its own intake hotline. So if you press housing, you will be directed to one of our hotline paralegals. You could also do an intake through the intake team, and they'll explain from there. If you get through our housing hotline, we do service the hotline Monday to Friday, every day from 9 to 4, with the exception of Wednesdays. Wednesdays, we do close the hotline at 3, and that's because that's when we have our staff meetings. Other than that, we are closed during our lunch hour, which is every day from 1 p.m. to 2. So if you call during those times, you most likely will reach an intake worker, and they will explain to you when to call back to get a hold of one of my housing paralegals. Anyone who qualifies for services in our housing department is guaranteed to get counsel and advice. That's the minimum service that we will guarantee everyone, and that is legal advice to any of the issues related to housing that we could actually provide services for. If we're not able to provide a service, whether it is something that we don't assist with, or the client doesn't qualify for services, we will refer them to another place that might be able to assist them. Aside from the housing hotline, we also do what we call brief services. That is basically any other service other than counsel and advice, such as drafting of documents, getting a hold of the landlord, the tenant, or any opposing party, third party that we might need to contact. Those services are based on a case-by-case basis and based on resources. Especially right now, we're very busy with evictions and lockouts. So that's our priority service that we offer in housing department. But there are multiple other things, such as we could assist with drafting a letter requesting repairs, a reasonable accommodation, sometimes assist with responding to any discovery requests, motions, answers, you name it. It's all dependent on the resources that we have available at that given time. The one service that we offer Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is our UD clinic. That is a clinic that we have specifically for responding to an unlawful detainer. So if you were served with an unlawful detainer and the client qualifies for resources, we will be able to assign them to one of our appointments. Currently, they are being held virtually. Again, that is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So those are the only 3 days that we are able to assist with answers. If for any reason someone doesn't have that appointment, we will provide advice on how to proceed to submit their own answer at that point. We do offer representation, which is this slide. We call it TLAP, which is our Tenant Landlord Assistance Program. That is our court-based program. That's when we go out to the courthouses. We are mainly representing for unlawful detainers. How the process works currently right now, we are holding in-person court hearings in all of our courthouses except for Palm Springs. So any courthouse, Banning, Barstow, Corona, Fontana, Joshua Tree, Moreno Valley, let's see, which one am I missing? Fontana, I did say Fontana, sorry. So any of those courthouses, we're out there in person. We are getting clients approaching us the day of if they're scheduled for a trial or a COVID-19 hearing. So any of those hearings, we are there, we're representing, whether that be for negotiations or doing the trial. It is first come, first serve basis. So we always tell clients to show up early in order for them to get that assistance. For Palm Springs, we are requesting that the clients call us ahead of time. Like I mentioned, that's the only courthouse that is not having in-person hearings. So the only way we know about any trials is if the client calls us or the applicant calls us ahead of time, so we could prepare to be there virtually. Other than that, our resources as far as representation goes are pretty limited right now to only unlawful detainers. We are able, if we're able to assist in any other type of case, such as something against the landlord, things like that. Right now, we're very limited. It is something that we could do, but most of our resources are going to evictions. So evictions do keep us pretty busy. We cannot guarantee any other representation of other cases. If we're not able to represent, we will refer the client to other services or attorneys that might be able to help them. The other service that we do offer is subsidized housing. We like to categorize it in its own category because it is a whole different monster. So that's anytime that someone either wants to sign up to get subsidized housing, the most popular one being Section 8. We also assist any issues with low income tax credit housing or any type of subsidized houses as someone might have. For those, we do assist with signing up for it. And if there's any issues as far as terminating all the services or potentially giving notice that those services will be terminated, we might be able to assist with the hearing or at least provide counsel and advice for them. We don't assist with appeals. So once the service is terminated, it's too late for us to try to help. And we also don't actually assist with looking for housing. That is often a misconception that we have for a subsidized program. So we do try to assist with signing up for getting some kind of subsidy and rent, but we don't assist with looking for housing. But any of those services, the best way to get into the housing department is going to be the hotline. And that's it for my team.
Jaime, are you with us?
I am. I just had to stop the slide so that I could unmute myself. My apologies for that. So I'm going to reshare my screen. And my name is Jaime Cartagena. I'm the practice group director for Inland County's Legal Services Immigration Clinic. What we are focused on doing in our practice group is specifically working with victims of domestic violence or certain types of crime in the United States and helping them in receiving or applying for legal status here in the United States. One of the reasons why I do have to mention the caveat of being a victim of domestic violence or a certain type of crime is because we are a largely federally funded program. That funding does prevent the agency as a whole from providing many of our services to undocumented individuals. One of the carve-outs under federal law is assisting particular victims of domestic violence or certain types of crime. As such, that restricts the type of work that we can do in the immigration unit. So we can't do anything as other private immigration practitioners would be able to do. But we can help with a bevy of other services that are focused towards working with victims of domestic violence or other types of crimes. So, for example, some of the forms of immigration assistance that we can provide are as listed here: adjustment of status. So that means that somebody is applying to become a legal permanent resident of the United States, also known as a green card holder. That is the term that is often used by individuals, even though the card is not actually green, it's actually more pinkish these days. The other is naturalization, and that is the process by which somebody who qualifies to become a US citizen goes through the practice of naturalization. And that means applying for, submitting the application and going through the naturalization interview process, which includes the civic exam and English tests. And we are able to provide certain types of deportation defense. Deportation defense means that somebody has been placed in removal proceedings. That's the official term, but more commonly known as deportation proceedings in immigration court. So there are certain times where individuals may qualify to fight their deportation in the United States as a result of being a victim of domestic violence or a certain type of crime. And therefore, we would be able to possibly represent them in their hearings, all of which at this point are being held in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles courthouse is the courthouse that presides over many of the immigration cases, aside from those in the San Diego area. They have their own immigration court. The other forms of relief that we practice in are listed here: U visa, T visa, and VAWA. And just to speak briefly about each one of them, the U visa is for individuals who have been the victims of a certain type of crime in the United States. So that can include domestic violence, sexual assault. They tend to be more of the violent crimes. One of the things that is requirements that is necessary to receive the U visa is that the individual has reported this crime to a law enforcement agency, that they have cooperated in the investigation, and that they are helpful in the investigation of the criminal activity. If they have done that, they may apply for the U visa. The U visa allows somebody to have U visa status, which means that they are legally allowed to reside in the United States for 4 years. This will also allow them to work during that time. And then within 3 years of having the U visa status, that individual may be able to adjust their status or become a legal permanent resident. There's also the T visa. This is for victims of human trafficking, which can include trafficking of a sexual nature or labor-related trafficking. So if anybody is in the United States on account of being either trafficked for employment purposes or sexually trafficked in the United States, they may qualify for the T visa. Very similar to the U visa, this does require that the individual be participating in an investigation of the criminal act. That means, again, that this has to be reported to a law enforcement agency. It does not necessarily mean for U visa and the T visa that there has to be a successful conviction or that even a criminal case is started against the individual. It just requires that they report the criminal activity and they are willing to be helpful in the investigation of said activity. And then there's VAWA, which is short for Violence Against Women Act. The Violence Against Women Act does encompass a lot of different laws, but specific to immigration, this does allow individuals who are married to a legal permanent resident or United States citizen who is the victim of domestic violence to basically self-petition. While the term woman is listed in the specific law, any gender identification may qualify for VAWA. It is not limited to women. Men and other non-binary individuals may still qualify for VAWA. This is similar to U-Visa in that there is the domestic violence component to it, but the main difference between this and U-Visa is that they must be married to a legal resident and the United States citizen. And basically what VAWA does, it allows an individual who would normally have a spouse that could petition that they become a legal resident, basically remove the abuser from the picture and self-petition. So they're basically doing the process on their own. This is an entirely confidential process. The abuser need not know about this. They have nothing to do with the application. And one of the reasons why this is so important, especially in terms of in cases of domestic violence where somebody is still married to the United States citizen or legal permanent resident, is that the abuser often utilizes their immigration status to perpetuate domestic violence against the individual. So again, this allows the individual to take matters into their own hands and apply for legal status on their own. There is another form of relief that we do not do that much, but what I am trying to expand the scope on, and that's called special immigrant juvenile status. And that is specifically for minors who have been abused, abandoned, or neglected in the, and are currently in the United States. And that is also a path to legal residency for that individual. As with all of our other programs, if you call our intake and are interested in doing an assessment with one of our members, we will do the intake and determine if somebody may qualify for these particular forms of relief. If they do not qualify, but they may for our services, because they do not qualify for these particular forms of relief, but there may be others that in forms of relief that the person may qualify for, we do our best to try to refer to agencies or individuals that are capable of holding this. And obviously, since we're working with immigrant populations, we do have multilingual capabilities to assist any and all clients. And I believe that that is it for me.
Thanks so much. I also wanted to mention, we should have mentioned in the beginning, so our program has broken down into different practice groups so that we can better focus our attention and our staff on a particular issue instead of mixing between family law in the morning, housing at noon, and then you're doing public benefits at 4 o'clock before you wrap up your day. So our advocates are better able to focus and specialize in care. Now, just because we're broken into teams doesn't mean that we don't communicate or exchange information. We really want to have this holistic view of helping our clients, because somebody is not just, having an immigration problem. They might also be having a housing insecurity, access to public benefits or Medi-Cal, and there's this crossover between a lot of these issues. So we collaborate and pass off clients. So maybe someone comes in with a healthcare issue, but they may need some additional forms signed before they can get their health care. So then we would collaborate with our immigration team. Just some examples. So, even though we're broken out and siloed, like Greg likes to say, we really do try and collaborate and work together. So on behalf of the manager of the outreach and intake team, I'm going to go ahead and present for them. The intake and outreach team is a two-part team. The intake team is kind of prong one. We have staff that are on the phones to screen callers to determine if they're eligible for our services. And they're really our first line, oftentimes most important line between applicants and then actually getting clients and being able to accept these cases, because trying to determine someone in a very vulnerable situation, whether we can help them or not, or if we can't, like Jaime said, making a really meaningful referral to another organization that could help them can mean a big difference. So the intake team really tries to have a compassionate and patient approach to screening calls, because people that call us are not always having the best time. They're stressed with, receiving an eviction notice, or with losing benefits, or, with some other legal issue that they're having. So just really being patient and compassionate and respectful to, all of our callers. Additionally, we do have staff that are bilingual in English and Spanish. Some are also, speak other languages. And we do have access to other language services such as American Sign Language and a whole host of other languages like Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese. So just examples that we have some really great resources to reach our community that might not be able to or know that there's help out there. Additionally, the intake team will screen calls for the other practice groups. So maybe they don't reach the housing hotline or my health hotline, but they will screen all of the calls for all of the practice groups and try and set up appointments and see how we can best get them care and assistance. Now, the outreach team is the other prong of this team, and these are advocates that help seniors. This team helps seniors who are 60 and over, thank you for changing the slides, on a variety of issues such as simple wills, power of attorneys, which are a legal document which would give a third party, maybe a friend or a parent or an adult child, authority to act on your behalf. Additionally, they help with other healthcare directives, which is similar to a power of attorney, but more for healthcare decisions. And they also assist with elder abuse, some grandparent visitation, and then some preparation for small claims courts. And because they focus on seniors, they do help with a variety of other kind of crossover issues, including the housing, healthcare, and public benefits as well. And this team knows that not all of the senior population has the same access to transportation or ability to get around to our different offices. We do have our 5 office locations, and with COVID-19, we've been had been closed down, and we're trying to focus most of our assistance with remote and telephone intakes. But we do have offices in the high desert, was in Victorville, the low desert was in Indio, Riverside, Ontario, and then San Bernardino. So even though these clients may not be able to come into one of our offices for an in-person meeting to do document preparation or whatever they need, this team will go out to senior centers and other locations throughout Riverside and San Bernardino to try and meet them and give them the assistance that they need. So, and then again, even though they're 16 over, our focus and our core is to provide legal assistance to those who can't afford it or who don't have the means to otherwise get the help that they need and would kind of slip through the cracks. So I think we fill a really important role in the community. I think we are all done for the intake and outreach team, and I'm going to pass it off to Marcia.
Thanks, Grant. I'm Marcia Johnson. I'm the practice group director for our public benefits and education team. Our team assists with issues regarding federal, state, and county administered benefits, including applications, cessations or loss of benefits, overpayments and overissuances, and denials. Our goal is to help clients access, preserve, and increase public benefits when appropriate. And we do this by providing counsel and advice, gathering and reviewing medical records, helping to complete materials for application and appeal, as well as representing in administrative hearings for various public benefits issues. On the federal level, we handle Social Security cases, which are typically SSI or supplemental security income, SSDI, which is Social Security disability insurance, and Social Security retirement, as well as VA benefits. Just to tell you a little bit more about SSI, it's a program that provides minimum basic financial assistance to older adults and persons with disabilities who have very limited income and resources, whereas SSDI supports individuals who are disabled and have a qualifying work history, either through their own employment or a family member, such as a spouse or parent. For VA cases, we typically provide assistance with disability compensation, which offers a monthly tax-free payment to veterans who either got sick or injured while serving in the military, or to veterans whose service made an existing condition worse. On the state level, we are able to assist people with cases in state disability insurance, unemployment insurance benefits, as well as the cash assistance program for immigrants, which is also known as CAPI. CAPI is essentially the state-funded version of SSI, but it assists those who are denied federal SSI benefits based solely on their immigration status. We're also able to help individuals with obtaining vital records, such as birth certificates, social security cards, in order to afford them access to housing and public benefits when needed. Lastly, on the county level, we help with CalFresh, also known as food stamps, CalWorks, known as welfare, sometimes cash aid, and general relief, which is cash aid for individuals with extremely low resources who either can't work due to disability or an unavailability of jobs. You can change to the next slide, Jaime. Thank you. On our education side, we work to enforce students' special education and disability rights under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, by helping parents and caregivers navigate the world of IEPs, or individualized education plans, lots of acronyms in our world, including requests for assessment, evaluating the appropriateness of the supports and services written into their IEPs, as well as increasing or modifying those services when necessary. We can also assist with school discipline cases, including suspensions, expulsions, and transfers, as well as challenging school district policies that prevent access to education. Our hope with our education practice is to ensure quality education for all, including English learners, foster youth, and alternative education students. So our practice group, to sum it up, basically caters to individuals who need benefits based on disability and or a lack of income. That's all I got. Thank you.
Do we have Elena with us?
I don't think so, Grant.
Okay. Do you want me to talk about Elena's team briefly?
Sure.
Okay. Just real briefly. So we have a systemic impact and litigation team, and this team really works as our focal point for trying to make lasting, impressionable cases and big impact in the community. So, you know, while our teams are tracking some major trends kind of on the ground floor with the clients, we identify maybe something is happening in the community. Maybe there's a particular population that's being denied benefits. And then this systemic impact team will actually work up a larger case to try and fix it for everybody. So whereas our services are direct one-on-one with a client, this other team will try and make a change for the entire community in Riverside and San Bernardino. So they have a variety of different complex cases that they've been working on over the years and really making a big impact for especially access to general relief and general assistance in both Riverside and San Bernardino County, as well as some housing issues as well. So just wanted to plug that team as well. And then our teams are constantly trying to collaborate with them and see what else we can do to help make a lasting change. And then we have Paulette. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Grant. And thanks, Jenna and the Riverside County Law Library for having us here this afternoon. It doesn't seem like a year has gone by. I think I was here last year for this fair, and it's always a pleasure to be able to be out in the community talking about ICLS and what we do and what we have contributed to the Inland Empire. And so I'm going to piggyback off of what Grant said. He gave a little bit of history about the 8 practice groups that we have and our holistic approach. But what I'd like to share with those who are on this call is that ICLS has been a staple in the Inland Empire for over 63 years. It was incorporated on June 9th of 1958. And so that ought to tell you the staying power that ICLS has here. And so, you know, our mission is that we pursue justice and equality for low-income individuals through our counsel, our advice, our advocacy, and community education and training. And we do it all with dignity and respect, you know, to all who we come in contact with, our clients. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our volunteer program. I want to talk a lot about our volunteer program because that's my main, one of my main jobs here at ICLS. But I just had to share with everyone the pillar that ICLS has been in the community. And starting out, ICLS started out as a volunteer, full volunteer funded or operating organization. And so I, as the pro bono coordinator, I work in the community engagement or with the community engagement team. I'm not a practice group director, but I do work hand in hand with the practice group directors in terms of placing volunteers and working on various community education presentations that we do throughout the Inland Empire. And so the community engagement team, what we do is we partner with legal and non-legal organizations to build relationships with them, to let them know what we're doing in the community and to have them assist us with providing high quality legal services to our clients. And so some of those partners that we have worked with in the past, we've worked with Councilman Alexander in San Bernardino County. We have also worked with One Justice, which is a statewide organization that assists legal aids with providing the services that they provide. And so we also work with law schools to place law students throughout our program. So we're trying to build on our existing partnerships as well as creating new partnerships within the organization. And I also want to touch on some of the opportunities that we have, because we're always looking for volunteers. And I like to tell everyone that we could not do the work that we do without our dynamic team of advocates, but also blended in with that is our team of volunteers. And so we were always seeking volunteers to work with our practice group directors and to do other things within the organization. So some of those things that we've done, we have done community education presentations on employment rights. When the pandemic was at the beginning of last year, people weren't sure how to apply for their unemployment benefits, what things did they need to have at their ready when they were applying online. So we got together with Marsha's team and put together some really great and dynamic presentations in that area. We also have provide in Marsha's area presentations regarding IEPs and transition services in that special education area. And so our volunteers come on and they assist us with putting on community education to the community. We also have a couple of clinics who, like I said, we need volunteers to come on and assist us in these areas. And so we do have a consumer rights clinic that is headed by Greg's group. And so that clinic is offered twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. They offer a clinic in the morning, they offer it in the afternoon. And so that clinic is really geared towards helping debtors. If you're low income and you have few assets, then we're here to help you. And so there is a dedicated line for that, I believe, Greg. And if they can't get through to that particular line, then they can always reach out to us at our toll-free number or on our website. We have information about that clinic there. We also have volunteers. This is totally volunteer operated, and we want to get the Consumer Right Clinic on board as well with being completely 100% pro bono. And so with that pro bono it means free. We are providing free legal services, and that's across the board in the organization. Like, no one pays anything to receive our services. It is free. And so I know that I love everything free, but here's the thing. Even though the services are free, I want you all to know that you are receiving high quality assistance. And so don't let anyone tell you that you can't get any good legal assistance through a legal aid organization, because I'm here as an insider to tell you that we do dynamic work. And so we need you to come on and assist us with our clinics. We have a small business legal clinic that we're doing for small businesses here in the Inland Empire. We do it every other month on the third Wednesday. Our next clinic is going to be November the 17th. It's from 1 to 4:30. And that's where small businesses can sign up to receive one-on-one counseling and talk to an attorney about starting up your LLC, or you just want to brainstorm about how to start an LLC, a corporation, or you've received something that pertains to your business, or just to find out more resources, because there's plenty of resources here in the Inland Empire or just across the state that we may be able to assist you with. And so what are we looking for? We're looking for a volunteer. We're looking for lawyers, law students, college students, paralegals, and legal professionals, people who speak another language, and they just, want to come on and assist us with providing Spanish interpretation, CPAs. My job as the pro bono coordinator is to find a place for you here at ICLS. And so, some of the benefits, because people always want to know, some people, I think that there are people who they're going to volunteer no matter what, and so we want them, but I want to talk to those people who are like, I'm not sure, what's in it for me. Well, here's the thing. So we do provide MCLE training. We just had a training last month, and our volunteers were invited to participate. It had to do with evidence and opening statements and direct evidence. And so some of our volunteers were able to jump on that call and receive some MCLE credit. Now, I'm a lawyer, and I'm always looking for how to build my MCLE hours. And so that's a way that you can do that. If you want to learn a new practice area, as you heard, we have 8 practice groups. And so this is a way to get new information, learn about a different practice area. It's also a way to meet and work with a dynamic group of advocates here at ICLS. We do recognize our volunteers annually. We have our pro bono recognition event that's happening next month. And so we're excited about that because we have some exemplary volunteers who we want to showcase and acknowledge them for the great work that they've done here at ICLS. And lastly, it's a way to give back to the community and be a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And how do you do that? You can send an email inquiry. I'll receive it, but it's going to go to volunteer@icls.org. And once I receive your email inquiry, I will send you our volunteer application. You can send me your resume. I'll take a look at it, and then I'll set up I like to call them an interview, but it's really a quick chat where we talk about your interests and what it is that you would like to gain and assist ICLS with during your volunteership. And so that's kind of an overview of what we do on the volunteer side of it. And with that, again, thank you, Jenna, and thank the Riverside County Law Library.
Thank you, everyone at ICLS. There was one question earlier in the chat. Someone asked if the family law was based on client's income.
Yes, that is based on the income. And when the client or the applicant calls to do their intake, they will review that information with them to see if they qualify.
Thank you. And I don't see any new questions in the chat. However, you can email me and I can pass it along, or you have the website for ICLS that you can contact or call them through. And with that, thank you all for such a quick, detailed presentation. There was a lot of moving parts, so I'm very impressed. And thank you for doing this on Zoom, and a recording will be made available. If you do want to share your slides, I know that the participants usually ask if the slides are going to be made available. So if they are, you can just email them to me and then I'll attach it out when I send out the email. And then our next presentation will start in 4 minutes at 2, but there's still 4 minutes then for any other questions that anyone has. And just thank you again. Yes, Paulette, we had a virtual resource fair in January of this year, so just a little less, but it seems like a lifetime has happened between now and then. So I always appreciate you taking the time to do this and getting information to our community, because we want to connect people with information and services.